Hello, brothers and sisters. It's wonderful to be back with you again here on Points of Light Radio and continuing our journey and fellowshipping together. And I'm really excited today about this particular segment of Points of Light Radio because we'll be investigating an organization that I can almost guarantee you've probably never heard of it. And that organization is the Grand United Order of the Knights of the Golden Horn. As I've often said, I can hear you going, who? Okay. But that's what Points of Light Radio is here to do, isn't it? Here to shed light on organizations and take you behind those closed doors of these organizations, shall we say, and to shed light on them. Just to give you some insight, the Grand United Order of the Knights of the Golden Horn was founded in 1872. It started out as an additional or higher order, or a pendant body, shall we say, of the Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffaloes. Now, we have tried to shed some light on that. If you recall, in a previous segment of Points of Light Radio, and if you haven't watched that, I encourage you, as I always say this, go back and have a look at that, because it will really mesh in quite well with today's segment of Points of Light Radio. Right. But back to the insight here. In 1926, the Knights of the Golden Horn broke away from the Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffaloes and became an independent order unto themselves. The members refer to one another as comrades and meet in encampments. The encampments meet weekly or monthly, depending on the encampment. The orders consists of 6 degrees, which I'll allow my guests to explain. To join the Knights of the Golden Horn, one must be a male over the age of 18 who is of good character and who is free of criminal convictions. There is no upper age limit to join. However, initiates, this is interesting, over the age of 65 will not be entitled to some of the membership benefits. That's interesting. The motto of the Knights of the Golden Horn is, I hope I pronounced this right, pro rege, lege, egregge, which I hope I'm translating this properly, means for king, the law, and the people. Now, my guest who will be shedding some light on the Knights of the Golden Horn today is, you may remember from a previous segment of Points of Light Radio, Owen Snowdon. He is a member of the Grand United Order of the Knights of the Golden Horn, Phoenix Encampment 149 in the United Kingdom. Now, if you recall, when he was here last, Mr. Snowdon told us he was a member, or in the last times he was here, actually, a couple times he's been here, he said that he's a member of a number of fraternal organizations. I believe it was, I think he said 19. This is great. I just love having this guy on here. And, but like I said, today is here to shed some light on the Grand United Order of the Knights of the Golden Horn. This sounds very interesting and intriguing. I can't wait to get started. But are you still searching for the light? Are you still hungry for knowledge? Then how about you just trim your lamp and follow me after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
I've got some examples as
Points of Light Radio. You are a member of a number of fraternal organizations, but today you're here to shed some light on the Knights of the Golden Horn. So why don't you tell my listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself?
Well, basically, I've been on the show a few times, but as just to recoup, I'm a member of several organisations, and one of those organisations, the Royal Lutheran Order of Buffalo. I'm in now about 20 lodges. Believe it or not, 20 lodges in that organisation. I'm a member of this organisation I'll be talking about today, the Knights of the Golden Horn. I'm a member of the Freemasons. I'm also an Odd Fellow, and I'm a member of the Orange Institute, the Royal Black Preceptory, and a few other ones. I liked what you quoted, Stan, on like the journey so far video, where you stated like, "What isn't that, brother?" And
yeah, it's good.
Got a point there.
Know, it's great though. It really is. It's very interesting actually.
Of course.
But tell us about the Knights of the Golden Horn. Like, how long have you been a member, like, of the Knights?
Oh, I've been a Knight of the Golden Horn for about, let's say, 2 years now. Well, what happened with that was I was actually a member and about to do my Knight degree, which is a dual. You get a dual. I'll show you later on in the show, because I've got a few examples to show you of different duels, because their regalia is quite basic but very rare. Especially in the States and in Canada, you'll never see it. Because it's a very... The Knights of the Golden Horn is quite a Northern United Kingdom thing. It has been around the world, but it's mostly a Northern, like, from like Northumberland down to Hull type thing, and maybe a bit further down. But it's quite a Northern thing. So, yeah.
And why don't you tell us about it, though? Like, what... you meet in lodges, or what do you call your lodges? Like, I know
we call our lodges encampments, because I'll explain the reason behind the encampment, the name of encampment. Basically, the origins of the Knights of the Golden Horn. We aren't like many knightly orders based around the Knights Templar or some other like Knights of Malta or something like that. These knights, it was quite a unique story. If they developed, basically, it's. The whole idea of the Knights of the Golden Horn is because of the Golden Horn River, I think in Istanbul, or Turkey, somewhere around there. I'm not that good with geography. I know a lot on fraternities, but not a lot on geography. Yeah. But anyway, they named it after Golden Horn River, because during the Crusade, there was a giant chain. Many ports would put a giant chain around the port to not allow the enemy ships in. So these knights were destined and told to break the chain. So they broke the chain, what was guarding the Golden Horn River, so the troops could invade the city. Hence by the name the Golden Horn. Yeah.
Interesting. And what exactly does the Golden Horn do? Are they, like many fraternal organizations, they raise funds or something for their brethren, or what is it?
Well, the Knights of the Golden Horn, I'll have to go back a bit here, but the Knights of the Golden Horn originally started off as an organisation which was part of the Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffaloes, but eventually it broke away and formed. We called it the Huff. I call it the Huff. They basically weren't allowed to adjudicate over something or do their own thing, and basically they spat their dummy out and went, okay, we'll make one organisation, which good on them, you know. They're now still prosperous from those eras. But when they were under the ROB, their duty was to conduct ceremonies to raise brothers to the Order of Merit, which I am also in the ROB. Their duty would be to bestow that upon a brother, similar to another organisation, which I would love to come on the show and talk about, the Guild of the Companions, which is a very small organisation, but very, very rarely heard of. But this organisation works alongside that other organisation I've just mentioned to conduct degrees, and they would bestow like the knighthood on brothers of the ROB. But eventually they broke away and formed their own thing. So it left the Knights of the ROB, it left those brothers of that organisation, it left them thinking, oh, well, what we're going to do now? We've lost all our encampments, we've lost the Knights of the Golden Horn, we need something for the Knights to go to. So they sat there, twiddled their thumbs, thinking, well, what we're going to do? You know, we've got to do something. So they went, right, we'll call them chapters. So now in the ROB, they have an organisation. When you reach a knighthood of merit, which is a 3rd degree in the ROB, you then can attend, or you're invited to attend, Knight's chapter, which is it's more of a newer version of the Golden Horn chapters encampments. It's their version because they now have no Golden Horn lodges. They were at one point still active in the ROB throughout our era, but they've died completely off in the ROB now. But they would use that. They now have chapters, and these chapters were adjudicated under the ROB and not the Golden Horn. You were asking, do they raise money for charity? Well, the Knights of the Golden Horn is just like any other fraternity. They're a brotherhood, and they do look after their brothers. We don't call them brothers and not in the Golden Horn either. I should clarify that.
Okay.
We're called comrades because you think comrade sounds a bit communist. No. It goes back to the era of like knights, men at arms, knights, when they would say, "Hello, my fellow comrade," on the battlefield. So that's where that terminology come from. Basically, they do look out for each other, and I think it's a great thing. They used to always ring me up when I was quite active. When I was active in it, I'm thinking of actually getting back active thanks to this show.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a brilliant organisation. It's not like a lot of other organisations. The degree structure. Now we'll go on a bit about that when you're ready. But like degree.
Yeah, go ahead. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you. You have 6 degrees, as I understand it, but what are they?
Right, I'll try my best to remember all 6.
Right.
So the 1st degree, these are my jewels from my one was presented from a brother from Canada, not Canada, Australia to me, as a friendship jewel, as a jewel to say, well, me and you will always be friends. But the jewel kicking about in the top here, that one, is my comrade jewel, my companion jewel. You get that after going 6 months. You get a jewel basically from 6 whole months continuously, and the jewel represents each star point on the star represents fellowship. It represents something which I don't wish to disclose because I would like, if anyone's interested in joining this organisation, to go and learn it and experience it. It's a brilliant organisation, but this is the 1st degree, a companion jewel. But then when the brother's ready, and I would say deemed worthy, the brother can then become a knight. The knight jewel, it represents a comrade who has reached a level in the organisation where he can now take office to a higher degree. So he could become knight commander. See, we don't call ours worshipful master, or how can I say it, worthy primor, or past president of or chairman. We call it a knight commander.
Okay.
Which once that comrade has done that year, he has then presented a further jewel, of basically stating that he is a knight commander, a past knight commander. Now I've seen a few people in the lodges where they've got a couple of these, so they must have done it in a few different encampments, and are just proud. And I love when I see brothers wear their jewels because it shows proudness. It shows a level of, like, look what I've done, and it's a good way to educate younger initiates. So younger initiates would come into the order and think, like, well, what's that jewel mean? What does that mean? And it's a good way to educate people in a nice, like, down to earth, instead of like lecturing them on, oh, well, this meant this, this meant that. You can just say, well, this I got for doing this. You could do the same. And it inspires a brother, like he's like, oh, well, I want to obtain that as well. I want to do that too. And, I'm all for that. So now we've reached, that was a 2nd degree. The 2nd degree is called a knight of the order. The knight of the order is then perceived further after a brother, I think a knight has to do 3 years and is then able to obtain Knight of the Shield.
Wow. Knight
of the Shield is a very beautiful and ornate jewel, very similar, if you've noticed, to a Roll of Honour jewel in the ROB. The Knight of the Shield is, after the 3 years of that, You then, I sadly don't have the examples of the other duels. That end ceases the duels other than one other one, which is a scribe duel. The scribe duel is given to secretaries of the lodges, of the encampments, and these duels are quite rare because you never get to see, a secretary loses, you never get to see a secretary's scribe duel. So I think I just thought it would be nice for your listeners to get to see one of these duels. So after a year of being the scribe, the secretary of the lodge, let's just call it lodge because it's basically they would be then presented one of these, and that would basically cease all duels. After that, they become collarettes. Now, back when the order was very, very big and had a lot of money and a lot of influence, they could obtain chain collars. The chain collars, they would be very ornate and come from companies such as L. Simpson, which is, if a lot of you know, is a very expensive regalia company. Or even Toy and Cannon and Spencer's or FC Perry's, I think, made stuff until sadly they went bust. But sadly, also going back to the jewels, a lot of the quality, if you've noticed, has changed. So, as all things, we all look towards outside country manufacturers. Now, you can see the quality of the jewel there compared to that one. You can see the difference.
Yeah,
it's a shame that happens, but it's all to do with cost and stuff like that. But I always believe, if it's something meaningful like that, you should pay the extra bit.
Oh, for sure,
just to make that brother feel, or that comrade feel proud to wear that. They would feel proud to wear it anyway, but you want that little bit extra, and
yeah.
But yeah, the organisation then follows up from a Knight of the Shield to, I think, a Sir Knight Chant. It goes Senior Knight Chancellor, Arch Knight Chancellor, and then Senior Sir Arch Royal Knight Chancellor. I think those are the right degrees. Don't get me wrong.
No, that's
There's
fine.
6 degrees, brethren. I'm in many organisations, so as to remember a lot of these degrees is quite difficult.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But the degrees do take a lot of time to advance through. They're not just like you go there, not like, how can I example? Freemasonry. You learn 3 degrees. You go through 3 degrees. Now, through those 3 degrees, it takes time and understanding of each of those degrees and stuff. I'll not disclose what's in those degrees.
Yeah, that's fine.
But you must learn certain things and do certain things and then advance. That can be quite depending on the brother. You could go through it. I've done mine in 3 months. I became a Master Mason in 3 months. I've done a degree each month.
Wow.
Now, some brothers, it can take 3 years, it could take them 6 months, it could take them whatever. But it's just how dedicated and how much time and effort you can put into things. Because I always believe in something. I always believe if you put the effort in, time and understanding, and don't rush things. Like I always regretted doing my degrees in Freemasonry in 3 months because I felt like I had rushed it, and I had to go back and say, whoa, I need a better understanding of this. I need to better understand what these degrees are meaning. Yes, they will explain during certain ceremonies and rituals, but it was just, I needed to understand it in my own perspective, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these degrees, I like how they, in the Knights of the Golden Horn, take a little bit longer, maybe a few years longer, but it's good because it's a journey, and a journey shouldn't be rushed. You should take your time and enjoy the race, not try to get to the finish line before everyone else. It's an important aspect of it all.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to ask about that as well. Now, do they allow women into the Knights of the Golden Horn?
No, it's a male only organization. Similar to be honest, someone's never asked that, but it's a male only organization. A man a brother. To be a comrade of this organisation, you must be of 18 of age. You used to have to be a member of the ROB, but that rule's changed. So you can join if you're not even a member of that now. But you must be of good character, loyal to the Crown and Constitution, like all good organisations should be, or whatever a jurisdiction in your country is, you should always be loyal to your country. But in that's really it. There's no women like in.
Do they have a
these,
women's dependent body? Like, for instance, some do, some organizations.
Sadly, there's not. It's not. Sadly, it's not that big enough to, I think, expand on that. Like, have a women's auxiliary. The REOB now, that organisation has one. And it's called the Ladies of the Glades, as I know it as. The Glades are a lot more stricter than the men. I've got big respect to the Glades. I know very little on them. But they are a lot more strict on how they run their lodges than men. They don't call it's very similar to, sorry to deviate, but it's similar to the male version, but they don't call theirs a primo. Their first degree is an imp, not a kangaroo. Their second degree is a primo. It's a primer, then a dame, then a roll of honour. You see, but theirs is a lot stricter than the men. You know,
what are the dues for this organization? Sorry, what were the dues?
The dues of this organization? Now, I'm a member of the Phoenix Encampment, which is 149, which meets in Sunderland in the Royal Artillery Club in the Gunners Club. We usually meet, I think, 2 times a month. So twice a month, we pay, I think, about £5 in each time. £5, you can't go wrong there, you know what I mean?
No.
It's a lovely meeting. I'll explain a little bit about how our meetings work.
Okay.
Basically, we do a bit of ritual, which I'll not disclose because it's you want to keep that bit of suspense and mystery, you know, and like people want to know what might want to join this organisation, don't want it spoiled. So what happens is we do these rituals and stuff and this lovely ceremony, and then after that we do our absent brethren toast, which is a lovely toast. After which we've done that and we've sung our song in remembrance of our lost and fallen. We then move on to the finance, and then after that we close the encampment. And we have a little buffet on, like a little bit of spread, a little bit of food, and we do like a quiz for the night for the comrades. It's just a nice social aspect. It's just nice to see, like, because yes, a lot of these organisations, people love the ritual. Don't get us wrong, I love ritual, but to a certain aspect, you've got to have the social aspect of it. You've got to have that, like, right, we've done all this ritual. We need to calm down a bit. We need to have
let your hair down sometime.
We need to have some we need to have some downtime. Exactly. And I think it's a brilliant way of having that downtime, just doing quizzes and just having a drink with your fellow comrades.
Yeah, breaking bread with the brethren. Yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I understand that, and then like, but how long are the meetings, by the way, in general? What would you say?
The meetings are about 2 hours long. I would say about 3 hours maximum. It's just a quick, like, to be honest, I've been a few where they've only lasted like an hour, but that's because of the function room is being used by other people, and obviously being gentlemen, we allow that and just say, okay, well, just give us a heads up next time a bit earlier, you know?
Yeah. What's the dress code?
The dress code now. The dress code is actually a requirement. Is smartly dressed, so like a suit, like black suit, and you must wear the lodge tie.
Oh, okay.
Because there's been a few times when I've turned up, or Knights of the Golden Horn tie. There is rules where you can't mention certain other organisations. That's just because most people in the Knights of the Golden Horn are in the Masons or in the REOB or in other organisations. It's just to keep them like, well, this is what we're here for, comrades. We're not here to talk about them. If you start talking about them, they'll pay a pound coin into the lodge as an apology. I'll tell you what, I've nearly had to do that a few times.
Oh, well, what are you going to do? Exactly. But what has led to the growth or the reemergence, shall we say, of the Knights of the Golden Horn?
Well, the reemergence of the Knights of the Golden Horn is, I think, I don't know actually. I'd say like brethren in other organisations hear some people are members of this organisation and feel like, oh, mate, I'm interested in this because it's different. It's not masonry. It's not Buffaloism. It's different. And I think that's what a lot of these, to be honest, a lot of these organisations lack is a lot of use and the power of certain things to do with like ritual and stuff like that and ceremonies. people of older generations, should I say, not always, maybe some are young, but a lot of the time they just want, we'll get the stuff out the way, and we'll close the lodge and I'll have a drink and have a laugh and all that. But it's an important aspect of it. It's because a lot of these rituals have meaning or have stories, or, you know, and it's an important aspect. So I think a lot of these organisations should learn from what they're preaching, and come to understand why young brothers want to join these organisations, why some of these are flourishing, like the Odd Fellows in the Philippines. That's flourishing because I know a lot of the Odd Fellows out there, and they love ritual, they love it all. And a lot of the younger brethren are, because when in our aspects we don't get that in our daily lives. You know, we can't put on a load of regalia, aprons and stuff in public life. It's unheard of, you know. But when you're amongst your brethren and you can do that, it's different. You know, it's something you would never get to do outside these organisations. So I think that's a good way. This is why a lot of these organisations are emerging and growing, and sadly some of them are falling because they're not understanding, like, they've got the power there, but they don't know how to use it. If you get my understanding, like, it's such a shame. And, you know...
But I think sometimes these things have to be packaged up and sold to every generation differently, at least in Western society, don't you think?
Exactly. I think in Western society, you know, if it's repetitive too much, or it's the same, I'm all for tradition, I'm all for keeping, like, say if a lodge has, I don't know, they stop to sing a song which has been sung 100 years in their lodge, keep that going. Young brethren love that stuff. But think of how modernized a lot of lodges are struggling at the moment, because we're not moving on with the times. Now, we don't have to change ritual, we don't have to change tradition, and we don't have to do all this. And the second you mention any of this, I call them the grumblers in the lodges, the old guard, you know, like Napoleon's old guard, we're only allowed to mourn, and these members, they had served so many years on the front line. Well, that's how I see a lot of these old time members who are very staunch on no change. So I nicknamed them the grumblers, and in light taste. But it's you've got to try to persuade them. Like, you've got to try to say, look, we need to change the lodge. Like, why don't after the lodge go have a meal somewhere, or why don't we, like, I don't know, have like a movie night at the lodge or something like that? You know, just to get like young brethren interested instead of just going to a lodge meeting, sitting there doing a ritual, pay some money and go home. It's that, yes, I love that aspect, but you just need to have something where you can bring in the young brethren. You need to have like events on, or do little daft things like that, and you'll do those type of things, and they'll flock. Like, for instance, the Salters Lodge, my Oreo Bay.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, my Oreo Bay Lodge is basically we're quite like, not a flex, but we're doing very well because we do ritual, but we also do social, and we socialize a lot, and we don't want to say we run the lodge, but we run it in a way where we're getting members in. This year alone, we've brought in about 4 or 5 members. A few of them have stayed and are enjoying the lodge, because you get the ones who will come in, think this is not for me, and leave. But that's understandable, and they've got all the right in the world to do that. But in our lodge, we're healthy financially. We've got members coming in, and I feel like the stuff in that organisation others could learn from and see what we're doing right. They're not doing wrong, but not doing in the correct manner. If you get my idea, like my just to things, they could learn.
One of the things they could do is wire some of these lodges or whatever up for high-speed internet access, and have like a game night for the 20-something-year-olds. They could come in, they could play that, and then do your meeting or something like that. Because especially the younger, the 20-somethings, are very wired. They believe in that, playing those video games and things like that. I do know that. And do you have like a mixture of young and old in that your encampment there with your Knights of the Golden Horn?
Yes, I would actually say it's quite a mixture. I'm the youngest there, I think.
Well,
but I don't look it.
Yeah.
But jokes aside, they there is a mixture of like middle age to old age. As long as you haven't just got old age, you know, your lodge is still got the blood pumping and stuff. You know, it's still got that salvageable aspect where you could like say, right, we'll get a couple more youngins in, you know, and we could build it back up if it ever needed to. But I'd say it's a mixture, really. I'm the youngest there. I'm 24, believe it or not.
Good.
And they're it's 24 to 30 to 50s to up to, I think, even up to the 80s. Now, in another organisation I'm part of, we've got a member who's 90-year-old. I've even seen a brother in Whitley Bay in another organisation. He was still going to the lodge, and I think he was nearly in his hundreds. I was like,
that's good.
Oh, you know, you're like sitting there like, wow, that's that's determination, and that's something I can respect, you know.
Yeah. But are there plans to open more encampments in other parts of the world for the Knights of the Golden Horn there?
No, there is. I was actually in the process before a brother sadly departed and went to the Grand Lodge above. We were in the talks of starting one in Newcastle, because Newcastle, believe it or not, used to have, and even Gateshead and Jarrow and all over the North Tyneside, Tynemware area, or Northumberland, there was Golden Horn encampments all over. But sadly, as time go on, they died off, and no one, you know, and they got smaller and smaller. But I was in talks with a brother called Ian, and me and him were on about opening one up in Newcastle, but he sadly passed. But there's still hope for that. We're still trying to get that open. It'll take a few more years yet, but hopefully.
But other parts of the world. What about other parts of the world? The United States, Canada?
Other parts of the world. Now that's a question that I can't really answer, because I feel like the Knights of the Golden Horn is a very United Kingdom based thing. There was, I think, talk of opening one in New Zealand by a brother over there who I know, and he wanted to open one over there, but I don't know. I'll have to find out information on that. So next time I'm on the show, I'll have to tell you, like, well, look, just a quick update. Yes, there were actually works on one in New Zealand, and they're still on the works. I'll make sure to remember to answer that one.
Be interesting to see if any of them find their way over to Canada and the United States, though. That getting them over to North America.
Now you say that. There was a few years back, I remember on all on Facebook and stuff, typing away, and I noticed someone was selling an encampment, like Night Commander chair, and they were in America. Now that got me thinking. I was like, how's a Night Commander's chair got all the way over there? This big gaudy throne thing, you know. And she said they used to, supposedly, I think she said there was actually one over there at one point, but it went dormant and then just went extinct. So, yeah.
Well, what would you say that the Knights of the Golden Horn has done for you?
Well, it's done for me. I'd say friendship. I always say friendship, I know, but
of course.
You gain a lot of friends through all these organisations. Such a brilliant thing, you know. Because, and also it's helped us, I would say, with my aspect of like being able to publicly speak and talk in front of people, and gives us that confidence, you know what I mean? That's a great thing. These organisations can help any gentleman or any woman even if they want to join a fraternity. These organisations are brilliant in helping you with that.
And what would you like you would say for those thinking of joining, would you recommend this, like up there with all the other fraternities you belong to, shall we say, would you?
Yeah, I would. I'd recommend any organization. If I'm part of an organization, I'm in that organization because how can I say, it's given me some ability, not a physical, like monetary value or anything. It's given me like some form of like, I don't know, like it's given us courage to talk in front of people, or it's helped my mental health, or it's done something for us. And I love that aspect of it all. Even if you're just making friendship, these organizations are brilliant for making friends. Like look at me and you, Stan. You know, you're from Canada, I'm from the United Kingdom. You know, if it wasn't for these organizations, we could have never met. You know, this is the brilliant thing about these organizations. You make friends all around the world in places you wouldn't even expect, you know.
Well, yes, and but you know what? It's been great talking to you again today, and we will, as you've already said, when the next time you come back, I'm sure we will definitely be having you back here again to discuss one of these other organizations.
Honestly, I would love to be back on your show. It's brilliant every time I'm on it.
Okay, have yourself a great day, sir.
You too.
Thanks. There you have it, brothers and sisters. We've shed some light on the Grand United Order of the Knights of the Golden Horn. Had you ever heard of the Grand United Order of the Knights of the Golden Horn? I have to admit, I had never heard of them until, of course, it reached out to Mr. Snowdon there, right? And, and yeah, I just love having him on here. And and I noticed how he invited himself back. Well, of course we'll have him back. Why wouldn't we? You know, an encyclopedia of fraternal knowledge. Of course, I'll have him back on here. We'll keep reaching out to him, won't we? Right? And we'll keep shedding light on these little known organizations, right? That's what Points of Light Radio is here to do, to preserve the history, right? And to raise the profile of these storied organizations like the Knights of the Golden Horn. Right? I will continue, as I said, to reach out to these different organizations. One of my next guests will be a member of Prince Hall Freemasonry. For those of you who've never heard of them before, it's going to be another very interesting segment of Points of Light Radio. That's just to give you the heads up. But today, as I said, one thing at a time, Knights of the Golden Horn, we've shed some light on them. We may go further and look at this organization again. But unfortunately, brothers and sisters, I'm afraid I'll have to part with you because, well, I did this interview at 3 a.m. So I have to get to bed. I've got a bunch of things to do today, and I will be interviewing another guest later on today. So, as I said, I'm afraid I'll have to part with you for now. But before I go, I want to remind you that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. My Twitter handle is at PO Light Radio. You can see the link to my Spotify channel. You can also see the link to Mr. Snowdon's web page there, as well as the link to the Knights of the Golden Horn, their web page as well. And you can see the link to my Points of Light Radio store, where you can go and purchase some of the stylish Points of Light Radio merchandise, as well as some other fraternal merchandise on there. And but until we meet again, brothers and sisters, I'm sorry to part, but until we meet again, just step into the light.